You know what's like one of the best snacks ever?
Let's see. There's a couple. Jerky
Yeah.
is one. Is that what you're eating?
No.
Oh.
Pop.
What else is a good snack? Cheese sticks.
It's an appetizer.
It's an appetizer.
Yeah.
Potato skins.
Appetizer.
That is an appetizer.
Popcorn.
Fuck, a whole pizza is an appetizer for me.
Yeah. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the GPhorce podcast, where the boys are back in town and the girls are stuck in the treehouse. I'm Adam Wolf, and with me, as always, is my wonderful brother who never misses a beat, Chris. How you doing?
Treehouse?
I don't know. No girls allowed. They got in, so they got locked in.
Who locked them in?
Yeah, that's the trap. They disobeyed the sign of no girls allowed. Then we put up steel barriers, and now they're stuck.
I guess they were forewarned with the sign.
We told them. It's been a while, hasn't it? We haven't. It's been a while since we've recorded, to say the least.
Well, we've both been pretty busy.
Very. Quite.
So, and as you premised before this, or as the show started, we will do it when we can do it. There is no schedule.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there you go.
We've got things to do, and very little time to do them in. I myself have been putting up. Well, I spent a whole weekend recording a whole bunch of videos, and I've got first impression videos scheduled for the next 2 months, at least next month and a half now, because most of them come out. And then somewhere in between, I'll just put in other videos like trailer reactions and stuff like that, which is part of what we're going to be talking about today. So the main topic today is centered around free speech. And it's something that I am very passionate about because it's not something that everybody gets to express without being ridiculed or canceled or whatever. You can't, by the way, you can't be canceled unless you let them. You're the only one who can cancel you. All right. So don't let those pussies shove you around. And I had a recent incident that I wanted to bring up to my brother here because he is a little bit more versed in the VR world than I. And an incident that happened quite a while ago, actually it was this year, where I had a bit of a run-in with Sony's hammer, if you will. So I think we're going to start with the most recent thing, and it was on a video that I put out this week. And it was a trailer reaction to the new Batman Arkham Shadow gameplay reveal, if you will. It looks good, all right, to say the least. It looks good. But I said it in the trailer. I said it in our previous episode. I don't like the fact that it is exclusive to the MetaQuest 3. And I don't care for exclusivity that much these days anyway. I mean, yes, I love my PlayStation exclusives. That was the whole reason I bought the system in the first place. And then, of course, it's now my main platform of gaming anyway. But even first-party titles, and Sony has, of course, realized this, and they're releasing their games on PC now. So they understand that, oh, look, we can make a lot more money if we release our games on other platforms, or at least PC. They're not willing to share with Nintendo or Microsoft. Well, maybe Nintendo, given that Horizon's Lego game is going to be on there as well. So they're opening up their ideas to the idea of going to other platforms. But MetaQuest seems pretty hellbent because apparently, most of their games have been on, they've been exclusive to their platform. Which, fair enough, their platform, if they fund the game, whatever, sure, I acknowledge this. Batman Arkham Shadow, of course, being published by Oculus Studios, which is owned by Facebook. And then, of course, developed by Camouflage, the guys we talked about in the previous episode who did Republic, another game that was a flat panel game, then it turned into a VR game, which was on PSVR 1, I think, right?
I don't recall if it was on PSVR 1, but it definitely was on the original Quest, which I will be honest, that was when Oculus still owned the brand of the Quest. They were just purchased by Meta, but it was still Oculus. And then they also made Iron Man, which was on the PSVR 1, which speaks to whoever this person is in your comments. It speaks to their ignorance by a clear statement that they made that they have never made a game for anyone else besides Meta. It's a complete farce. This person has not done their homework.
You read the comments?
Oh yeah, certainly. When you told me about it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just stupid, and yeah, I agree with your sentiment that they are. I mean, you didn't. I don't think you directly said it, but the implication was that they are a fanboy of Meta, and their claim that Meta has saved the VR industry, I would say is not completely accurate. Just because they sold a lot of head units doesn't mean that they actually did anything for the VR community, aside from making a standalone product, which, by the way, China has their own, which is Pico. And the only reason we don't know it is because they kept it national, not international. Until recently.
I knew about it because of Linus. He got his hands on one of those things, and I saw that years ago. It was insane. Yep. That was like the first 8K resolution headset, I think, which was kind of insane to even think that it could reach that.
The only reason why people shit on Pico is because one, it's Chinese, and two, it doesn't have the money that Facebook does. But it still has the backing of the government, the CCCP or whatever they're called. They actually back the Pico, and it has its own store. And now they're finally, last year I think it was, or yeah, I think the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, they started shipping internationally. That's when the developers that I help with, that's when they got their hands on the Pico.
Right. So. And it's a very odd looking headset. It's very wide, probably forefront heavy.
You know what I think you're thinking of? You're thinking of the other Chinese one. That's the Pimax.
Pimax. Oh, you're right.
Pimax. Yeah. The Pico is a standalone equivalent, actually a little bit better in terms of its specs than to the Quest. So if you were to actually put the Quest and Pico next to each other, they would look very, very similar. But the Pico actually has better hardware in it. They just don't have the software. They don't have the Meta store. But the Pimax is an interesting headset. It does look very bizarre. They have actually created smaller versions as they start expanding on their technology. They're making smaller iterations of the Pimax, and they have like Pimax 8000, Pimax 4000, or something like that. They're numbered, and they're getting better. In fact, it was originally a joke to a lot of people, given it's the way it looks, especially on your head. But the visual quality's there, and those who had tested it all stated that the quality is there. It looks funny because none of these applications are designed to fit the breadth of the field of vision. So it's not on the hardware, it's on the software to catch up with what the Pimax can offer.
Gotcha. Okay. But anyway, I did get those mixed up, but I have heard the Pico before. That was definitely not the one I saw.
It's very popular. Very popular.
Okay.
Just not so much here in the States.
So basically, some of you are probably sitting here like, what does any of this have to do with free speech? Well, the bottom line is that I believe so much in free speech that I for the most part, unless it's actually like a harmful link or something like that, I don't generally ban people from my comments section. I don't delete them. I don't mute them. Huffman even told me I could hide the person so that only they and I could see their comments, but nobody else. So they'd be basically talking into a void. But I also personally believe so much in freedom of speech that I believe that a person should be allowed to make an asshole of themselves on the internet and look and show everybody else how much of an asshole they are. This first individual, and I'm going to read the comments, all of them, because I think that gives the context for this whole thing. This one guy, and you can go to I'm not going to say his name. You can go to the comment section of the video if you want one, because it would give me a view, but also to, so that I don't put his name on blast. We're not a popular podcast, but I'm not going to say his name because, whatever. But he goes off, and it's like this guy is bipolar. We have two separate sets of comments that he's very nice and amicable and whatever, and then the other one he just goes off on me, and I called him an apologist for Facebook, which essentially fanboy. Yeah. So his first set of comments was just, I mentioned in the video that it sounded like Kevin Conroy. It was very close. Because I was thinking, it was mentioned that Kevin Conroy, the original voice of Batman, may he rest in peace. It was said that he had a couple more projects before he died that were in the works. And I thought that maybe this is one of them, but unfortunately it's not him. Because apparently this is actually a direct sequel to Arkham Origins, which I was unaware. Arkham Origins, fantastic game. Batman was not voiced by Kevin Conroy in that one, and Joker was not voiced by Mark Hamill in that one. I knew Joker was voiced by Troy Baker, which was a great rendition of the Joker. But anyway, so he answered that question. But Batman's voiced by Roger Craig Smith, who I just looked at his repertoire. It looks like he has voiced Batman in some, like Batman Unlimited, and so that whole series and stuff like that. So he's familiar with doing the character. Mm-hmm. And Young Batman from Arkham Origins, Arkham Shadow is the direct sequel, and Harvey Dent is voiced by Troy Baker, which is also awesome. I love Troy Baker. And then we get this back and forth, and I said, that's awesome. And he's like, yeah, Troy Baker's such a talent. And I'm like, yeah, he did a fantastic job as a Joker. And then his second set of comments was when he laid into me. Okay, so it all started with it, and this is because I had said I think it's a dumb and bad business decision for them to make it exclusive to their platform when VR itself is still technically struggling to maintain an audience, to maintain its niche, to be interesting. You got Apple coming out with their headset and it's like mixed reality, but it's $3,500 fucking dollars. Like, who's going to afford that? So, I said it would behoove them to bring it, especially even if it doesn't come to PSVR 2, bring it to PC, because there's a lot more people who own VR headsets on PC. I wasn't diminishing the fact that the MetaQuest, I think it's an inferior platform, because when you take the headset by itself, not the fact that you can hook it up to a PC, but it is a standalone headset that has its own processor and all this other stuff, the MetaQuest 3 still does not hold a candle to the PSVR 2. It doesn't, because the PSVR 2 still has features that the MetaQuest 3 does not. Does the MetaQuest 3 have HDR support? Do you know?
I can't. I don't have a MetaQuest 3, but I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, just give that a look-see. But, PSVR 2 has HDR, foveated rendering, eye tracking built in. It is, inside-out tracking, which is not the best, but so is the MetaQuest 3. That's like the new thing to do these days. It has rumble feature in the headset itself. It's got so many features in it that the MetaQuest wishes it had. Now, I could be wrong on some of these accounts. I have not looked at the specs of the MetaQuest 3. I really had no interest to look at it, or, I'm not even going to get one, but it would be professional of me to know the specs at least. I'm
not finding HDR, no.
Okay. So, the MetaQuest 3, while a affordable solution to those people who don't want to break the bank, is still an inferior platform to the PSVR 2. I was going to say PSVR 1, maybe, but it might actually be a little bit better than the PSVR 1. But still not as powerful. They could make it work on the platform, and you take a look at the video and it looks like it belongs on the MetaQuest 3. But they could do so much more with the art in that game if it was on something as powerful as a PSVR 2 or any other PC headset that exists. So anyway, so that's what I said. It's an inferior platform, in my opinion. I don't think they should make it exclusive to the platform because it would help the VR landscape so much more to be on everything. And this guy just starts off with, it won't happen. This game won't come out on PSVR 2 or any other platform except MetaQuest 3. Deal with it. So he went with the whole deal with it. He went back to the 90s and early 2000s of deal with it. And then we've got this parrot saying, exactly. Some other douchebag in the comments, some dildo who just parrots and he's like a hype man. He's just just repeating what his boss says. So my response to this was, that was a little bit aggressive. No need to be an elitist here. I think it will come out on other platforms. I just think we're going to have to wait. It doesn't make it any less of a bad business move to keep it on one platform, especially one that is technically inferior when they could do so much more with the game artistically. He comes back and quotes what I said in the video, which was, screw you, Facebook, which, yes, screw you, Facebook.
A lot of people say that.
They're a shitty business. What can I say? They make dumb decisions and they've made them for years. So, and they steal your data and sell it to the highest bidder. So screw you, Facebook.
Does anyone not remember their push for not Meta Horizons? What was it? The Metasphere or something like that? They wanted to push everything into Metaverse. And how many billions, not millions, billions of dollars they wasted on that. And in the process of trying to push out the Metaverse, people not only quit, but then they were also terminated by Facebook because they couldn't pay them anymore because of this push for Metaverse. So yeah, screw you, Facebook, for screwing people's lives over. And thank you for wasting so much money on something that no one asked for and is not what you advertised in your little fucking campaign. Metaverse was a stupid idea. It's still a stupid idea, but they're going to continue to push it because now they've already put both feet in the water and there's no getting back out.
Yeah. So, that's what I said in my video. I said, screw you, Facebook. And so he comes back with that. He quotes that and says, screw you, Facebook, quote unquote. That was a little bit aggressive. Tongue out of your head emoji face. I'm telling it like it is. There will be no timed exclusivity. This game simply won't be coming to other platforms. Meta didn't pay for exclusivity. They funded and created this game in its entirety. Camouflage is Meta's first-party studio and produces games only for them. Meta doesn't aim to sell this game as much as possible. Their goal is to promote and sell headsets. So I think I actually mentioned in my reply somewhere, one of these replies, that Arkham Shadow. Oh yeah, it's in this next reply. So I reply to him. Yeah, screw Facebook. Just to the honest to God truth. They're a crap company, but I'm pretty sure I may have mentioned that I noticed that Oculus Studio had published the game, so I recognize that it may not. But again, it doesn't make it a bad. It doesn't not make it a bad business decision. Sony published God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn. Those games are now on PC. Just because it's first party doesn't mean it can't/won't go to other platforms. Money speaks volumes, and Facebook is as greedy as they come. It's only a matter of time. Arkham Shadow isn't a system seller, no matter what Facebook thinks. And if they're looking to make money on this IP, they should reconsider their position. And then he's got a nice lengthy response here. He says, you can like or dislike Facebook, but the fact is that Meta has been single-handedly carrying the entire VR industry on its back for a decade. Meta is a leader in this market, sets new directions, and does a lot of good for the industry. If it weren't for Meta, VR simply would not exist at the moment. If there's anyone to blame in VR, it's Sony and Valve for completely failing their platforms. Now, I've never once championed Sony's business decisions. I have always spoken against it. I love PlayStation. I have every single system. I've enjoyed every single system. I don't agree with the way they've handled their VR headsets. I don't agree with the way they've handled their handhelds. I don't agree with their censorship. I don't agree with any of their business decisions. That doesn't mean I'm just not going to use their shit. I love their systems. I love playing on their stuff. But that doesn't mean I agree with everything they do. So I agree that Sony has failed their platform. Valve didn't need to worry about their platform. They made their headset. They have the largest digital distribution platform on the PC in the world. What the hell would they need to support their VR headset for except with updates? The games are going to support it.
The fact is, the Index is still one of the best headsets you can get.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like,
and it's how old?
It's getting up there already. It's when did that come out? Was it 2019, 2020?
It definitely wasn't a decade ago. Because this whole decade statement, Quest came out in 2019.
Yeah, I don't know where he got that idea from.
And it was still owned by Oculus. And in fact, when you had the Gear VR, which was Samsung, that was partnered with Oculus. So it's not Meta that has been, quote unquote, carrying the VR market. It was Oculus till Meta bought them out, changed their business platform, which pushed out the designer, the orchestrator, the architect of the Quest platform. Literally, Facebook pushed out the mastermind behind what people have today. So if you want to talk about business and business decisions and what's good business versus bad business, it's bad business when you take the architect and you push him out because now you stole their product. You bought him out with promising presents and poppers and all this fun fandom. You push out the main architect in the end to suit your own business greed. And that's what they've done. Their business choice to make an annual release of a new headset is literally just scalping their consumer base of all the money they could possibly have. I don't have a Quest 3 because it doesn't justify, like, the improvements are not sufficient enough to justify buying a Quest 3. And guess what? They've already announced or have already put out, I have to confirm because I stopped following some of the news on the Quest because it's so ludicrous. They were pushing out a Pro, I think the same year that the Quest 3 was going out. So they were pushing out a Quest 3 Pro. Now they already have an announcement that Quest 4 is coming out next year. So it's like Call of Duty. Why would I buy a whole new game when this one is just fine? Like, it makes no sense. Or same with FIFA or Madden. Like, they keep pushing these games out, but they're the same thing that you bought the year prior. I don't think that the Quest headsets are something to write home about. They still sit heavy on your face because you got a small computer on your face. They don't have the ergonomics that make things comfortable. Granted, the PSVR 2 ergonomics are not nearly as good as PSVR 1. But the PSVR 2 at least brought something new to the table. They brought haptics in the headset. They brought eye tracking. They were the first ones to bring eye tracking to the platform. Foveated rendering, specific lenses designed and patented by Sony to optimize foveated rendering so you don't get the glare. They patented a glass design for that specifically. What did Quest bring? They brought enhanced graphics to a standalone headset. That's all they brought. They didn't bring anything else. When you bring out a new headset and you want to make a dent in the market, it's not the number of sales. Because you know what? A lot of kids got the Quest 2, and you know what they did? They played Rec Room. They went and played something that is old and outdated. They didn't go in and play Asgard's Wrath. They didn't go in and play Assassin's Creed. They didn't go and play all these games that, Meta is partnering with, all these companies that Meta's partnering with to put out these games. They didn't go and get the headset for those experiences. Not even the Star Wars games. They didn't even go and do that either. The sales were still good, but there's no longevity in those platforms. The longevity is in the multiplayer aspects like Rec Room and VR Chat. Those are still two of the most popular titles, multiplayer titles on any VR headset. I mean, now you got Contractor Showdown, which is essentially Call of Duty Warzone in VR, and that's become very, very popular. You still have games like Pavlov in regular Contractors, the basic multiplayer game. You still have those, and yes, it is flooded with annoying squeakers, but you still have these stupid experiences like VR Chat and Rec Room. I say stupid because I don't buy into that shit. I think it's annoying. It's just so freaking annoying to have a whole bunch of people in there screaming the N word and all these other vulgarities with no parental monitoring. It's toxic. But those are still the most popular. So in my opinion, Quest has done nothing except sell hardware. But you know what happens with that hardware? The kids get it, but then the parents want to try it, and then the parents are like, well, where's the shit for me? Well, this isn't worth it. And so then they don't invest in another one. It's like, Mom, Dad, Quest 3 came out. Can we get that? No. It's a waste of money. So are they really going to sell? I don't know if they're going to sell, but they're not bringing anything new to the table. You can even look at the Index. The Index had the very first, even over Quest, fully functioning finger tracking in the controller.
Yes. Yep.
They also had, at the time, the highest resolution of any VR platform.
Right. And even I'll tell you what, that finger tracking shit is cool.
It's so cool. And not only did they have the finger tracking, but they designed the controller in a way that it had the straps connected to it, so you could open your hand freely. It was the first one it was the first console, a VR console, to be released with controllers with hand straps built into the controllers. Right now, if you want to get these hand straps, by the way, you have to go third party. Like you have to go ProTube VR, or you have to go Bobo or Kiwi. These guys they'll produce peripheries for your VR stuff. But Valve at least put it in their controllers. They designed it so that you could go hands-free. Okay, Quest did come out with hand tracking and recognition, but no one is making games where you don't need controllers. You want to know why? Because you still can't walk without a Cat VR. You can't walk free with your free hands in Cat VR. You can't grab a virtual item with your virtual tracked hand because the camera tracking, the external camera tracking, isn't strong enough to capture when your hand goes off screen. It doesn't have the algorithm that's perfected it yet. So it's still infant technology. Is it good technology? Absolutely. I will give Meta credit where credit is due. They are trying to find innovations, like with the mixed reality stuff. They're really kind of bringing it to your face. But that mixed reality isn't new. The hand tracking thing is new, but no one uses it. It's a stupid gimmick. In fact, I don't even turn it on. I don't know anyone that's turned it on. So what has Meta really brought to the VR industry? I don't really know outside of a new headset every year.
Now, keep in mind, people, that's Chris off of one paragraph in this long comment. So, I think it's pretty obvious that he knows what he's talking about. I'm not looking to get validation from my brother. Okay. He knows what he knows. I know what I know. He knows what I know. I know what he knows. So follow that. But so it's more or less just trying to confirm or deny what I said and what this guy said. And he read the comments himself, and he came to the same conclusion I did. This guy's just an apologist for Facebook. He has the MetaQuest 3, I'm sure. He's ready and waiting to beat off to Batman Arkham Shadow. But at the end, But at the end of the day, he doesn't know dick about what he's saying. He has no clue, and it'll be very apparent in the next two paragraphs. And let me show you.
Sure.
All right, so he said Sony and Valve are completely in the other platforms. I agree with Sony, not with Valve. There is no point in comparing Meta's exclusive with Sony's. Okay, this is where he attacks what I said, which was that Sony realized that they can make more money selling their games on other platforms. So far, no game created and funded by Meta has been ported to any other platform. Lone Echo 1 and 2, that's what I said. Lone Echo 1 and 2, Asgard's Wrath 1 and 2, Stormlands, Assassin's Creed Nexus. It'll be similar for Batman Arkham Shadow. Ryan Payton from Camouflage confirmed in an interview that they are not interested in releasing the game on other platforms. So that was the second paragraph. Now, I, of course, am not privy to that interview. So I'm going to take this guy at his word on that last part. Maybe it's true. Ryan Payton, I'm assuming maybe the game director or the studio director.
Do I have to wait to speak?
Oh, go ahead. We'll go paragraph by paragraph here.
Okay. So that is not a choice of Meta. That is a choice of the developer. Camouflage is choosing not to, like many other companies. Okay, this is not Meta specific. This is not Camouflage specific. But there are a lot of developers who said it is not worth their time investing in PSVR 2 specifically PSVR 2, because Sony was not supporting it. In fact, First Contact Entertainment, which was purchased by Sony, recently closed. They closed this year because Firewall Ultra did not sell as they were hoping. Even though there was a lot of support and updates coming to it, they had all this planned. Sony literally stopped supporting FCE. And I know this firsthand because I still talk to the CEO, or I should say ex-CEO. It was his business. He had to close it. And Sony had stated that they are pretty much stepping away from supporting PSVR 2, which resulted in the closure of FCE, which also is going to result in the closure of other companies that are designing games for PSVR 2. So Ryan Payton, who I did speak to before in an email when I was helping out with Republic VR, he stated that he's not interested in releasing it on other platforms. I'm not going to put words into his mouth, but I would assume it's because there was some sort of agreement that they wanted to develop for Meta, because I mean, Meta, let's be honest, they are selling hardware, whether or not that means anything to anyone. I mean, that let's not be disingenuous here. Where there's money, that's where you want to put your product, right?
Right. And that's something I would have to just agree with, is just the fact that if there's one thing that Facebook has done, it's advertised the shit out of their headset. When you think of VR, you think of Meta, because that's the point of marketing. They're doing a damn good job at pushing their headset. That doesn't mean they are the saviors of the genre.
Correct. And to speak to these other titles, Lone Echo 1 and 2, first of all, Lone Echo had an incredible lifespan. Okay, they had Lone Echo not only had the two standalone titles, storyline titles in the Lone Echo series, but they also had Echo Arena and Echo Combat, which were spin-off multiplayer arena games for Lone Echo. This was, I forget who the developer was, but they were a long-standing developer for Oculus. So that was purchased by Meta. So yeah, they had all rights to the Lone Echo series after the purchase. But guess who got closed down by Meta? The developers of the Lone Echo universe.
And why is that,
Asgard's,
because it didn't sell?
That is a good question, Adam. I am not entirely certain why they got closed down. In fact, in what I've been paying attention to, there was no explanation as to why they were being shut down. Lone Echo 1 and 2 are both graphically amazing. The stories are from what I hear, are good. I didn't buy into the universe because I didn't care much for it, but I watched the games. The story seemed pretty good, and they were very well received.
Yep.
By the VR community.
I thought it was this one. I knew it. This is one I was interested in.
And Echo Arena, Echo Arena was actually a VR esport as well. That was very, very popular. They closed the servers for that recently. Echo Combat was an expansion off of the Echo Arena multiplayer, and that was where it was like arena shooters and stuff like that. That too had its time in VR esports, but all those servers shut down.
Okay.
And Meta closed the company.
Yeah, actually, I do know it was Ready at Dawn.
Yes, Ready at Dawn.
I'm very familiar with them. Great company. I was super excited when I saw Lone Echo 2, and I'm like, that's my kind of game. Like, it's space, it's sci-fi, it's my kind of jam. And I had heard about this through Skill Up on YouTube. He had mentioned that Ready at Dawn was closed, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure he was talking about them. But these guys, they developed the God of War PSP titles, the Daxter PSP title. They're very good at what they did. They were mostly a supporting studio for Sony, not Meta. But yeah, they were recently closed this month. Actually, I remember that very distinctly, and I was very disappointed to hear that, because I'm like, Lone Echo looked really sick. To be honest, I was really excited about it. And I think the second game just came out.
It came out last year, I think.
3 years ago.
Was it 3 years ago?
Yeah, wow. Strangely enough. Yeah.
Time freaking flies. The other title, Asgard's Wrath, the time between the launch of those two titles was substantial. Asgard's Wrath didn't get its credit where it was due. But the second one came out and it was very well received. However, it's got a short lifespan, right? It only is like 10 hours or less of storyline. So there's not much content there. I mean, it's fun and it's very involved, but it's not, flat screen level of length. Then you have Stormlands, which was incredibly popular for when it came out. Very innovative. By the way, still a very good game if you guys ever want to hop in. Actually, no, it's not even available for purchase anymore. Whoops, that was another meta issue. But if you have it, you could still play it. And it was a multiplayer. You could play with one other person. But yeah, you can't purchase it anymore. So if you have it, you have it. If you don't, too bad. And it was very innovative and graphically impressive. That didn't go anywhere because, well, I mean, I think they had designed it specifically for PC. It actually was not. It says Meta has been nothing funded by Meta has ever been ported. Well, Stormlands, it was on the Meta store, or sorry, it was on the Oculus store, not the Meta store. It was on the Oculus store.
So yeah, another Oculus.
I think 2016. I could be wrong.
That was an Insomniac game.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And then Assassin's Creed Nexus. Here's a funny little note to also make. As we all know, Assassin's Creed is a Ubisoft brand title, and they designed it specifically for Quest in hopes that they could re-enter the VR array, because they created a game called Space Junkies, which was an arena shooter, which was fantastic, by the way. It's a zero gravity arena shooter. That's how I met one of my best buddies, Crook. I met him through that game. And after Space Junkies didn't really take off as well as they had hoped. Like, it did well, but it didn't do what they were hoping. They left the game up to play. I think you could still play it today. But they were like, yeah, we're not going to do anything more in VR. Well, now with Meta being as as they are with their advertising, they decided to put Assassin's Creed in VR. And they were like, okay, let's give this another go. They put a lot of money into it, and guess what? It didn't sell nearly as well. So you know what they said? All right, we're not going to do this again.
Yeah, and it even says Stormland for Oculus Rift, not Quest VR.
CV1. Yep. And so you can look at these. The only one here that is still accessible is Asgard's Wrath 1 and 2 and Assassin's Creed Nexus, but Assassin's Creed Nexus is it's still a fresh game, and Asgard's Wrath 1 is an older title, but 2 just came out and that was popular. But you got a studio that closed, you got Insomniac that isn't to my knowledge, I don't think they're making any more VR titles. And then you got Ubisoft, who said, well, after they considered Assassin's Creed Nexus a failure in terms of sales, so they're likely not going to be coming back to the VR platform. I can almost guarantee you, if they put Assassin's Creed on PSVR 2, all the Assassin's Creed fanboys would have gone out to get a PSVR 2, and it would have sold like crazy. But because they put it on a stupid standalone headset, I say stupid because I'm really irritated with this person. They put it out on a stupid standalone headset that couldn't push out the graphical fidelity or allow for the extensive gameplay that they could have had on a more, dedicated platform.
Yep. And I've tried it too, by the way. Chris had it on his Quest 2. I tried it. It has problems. It's not smooth. It's very janky and low graphic fidelity. And I'm sure on the Quest 3, it's probably looks and runs better. Really?
No upgrades. They didn't do any upgrades. Nope. They left it as it is.
Does it run better at least because it's a little bit more powerful hardware?
I don't know. I don't have the Quest 3.
Okay, but graphical updates.
No graphical updates. I mean, if you look at something like The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, right? They advertise the Quest 3 with the visual upgrades to Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, but it's not on Meta to do those upgrades. It's on the developers. So the developers have to put aside their own time to put in these updates to these new headsets that are coming out. And since Ubisoft was like, well, this was kind of a sale bomb, like, why are we going to put any money or time into Nexus?
Which is a shame.
If it failed.
It's a shame.
So so again, to this person's short paragraph here, the statement, so far no game created and funded by Meta has been ported to any other platform. First of all, that's not entirely true at all, because there are a lot of Meta games that are, quote unquote, Meta games that are available on Steam. And also a lot of ports have been made over to the PSVR 2. The PSVR 2 library is quite large with a lot of ports from both Meta and Steam. So that's a false statement. And within your statement, you point out 3 developers who are no longer producing anything for VR. So where is your argument but in the trash?
Oh, man. And I love the fact I'm laughing because I didn't know any of this, and this just makes the paragraph even more pathetic sounding. It's just funnier. So that's paragraph 2. You know, I mean, we're just tearing these
Sorry,
apart.
It got me heated.
No, that's fine, because I mean, again, you own the Quest 2. You have experienced most of these, and when they announced Asgard's Wrath 2, the moment I saw exclusively on MetaQuest 3, I was fucking pissed. Mm-hmm. I could not have been more excited for that one, and then just my dreams were smashed in the same instance. I was so excited and so disappointed at the same time, because I don't plan on getting a MetaQuest, because why would I? Okay,
no, they're just going to come out with the 4 next year, so
yeah, who cares? So last paragraph here, and then that'll be the end of his comments. And it's funny, I tried to look for the other guy that was just a troll, who I don't know if you caught his comments before, but he's gone. Like his comments are gone. So either his account got banned or he deleted all his stuff because he realized how fucking stupid he sounded when he was calling me stupid, and he was giving me more views on my video. So that was cool. But his comments are gone, so I can't really say to the other guy, but he was blatantly just a troll. So he literally said he couldn't stop talking about me sticking my PSVR 2 up my ass and stretching my butthole. And I'm like, dude, I think you have a few things you got to talk about here, because like, are you gay? Is that why you're sticking around the butt area a lot? Like, what do you? So he really was obsessed with my butthole. But he genuinely said to somebody else, to the freaking parrot, the other guy who was the hype man for this dude, said that he subscribed to my channel. He's like, I'm going to leave a comment on every video letting him know, oh, it's day blah, 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 until Arkham Shadow comes out and you get to stretching. And I'm like, go ahead, dude. Give me the engagement. That's all I care about. But it looks like his comments are gone. So, but I do remember the one comment that he said that he made when I responded to it. So I'll get to that in a second. But the last paragraph in this guy's long book is, sorry, but you probably don't know anything about the VR market. I beg to fucking differ. I know more than you do. Chris knows even more than I do. So therefore, our combined efforts, we are Captain Planet. The mainstream here is MetaQuest, PSVR 2. He horrible punctuation, by the way. The mainstream here is MetaQuest. Yep. Is MetaQuest. That literally should have been period, not comma.
A period.
PSVR 2 or PCVR are niches that don't pay off very well. If they were to port Batman to other platforms, it would involve the cost of making the game from scratch, which is a fucking lie. Because
it's not true.
Yes, you got to be so out of touch with how games are made to say something so stupid. They wouldn't have to build it from the ground up, you fucking moron. They would just need to port it by changing the code. That's it. There's no ground up building from here. They've already got the game built. Why would they rebuild it? And these costs simply wouldn't pay off due to poor sales on PCVR and PSVR 2. Well, it's not going to sell very well on MetaQuest 3 either. And
it's not going to sell on PCVR and PSVR 2 if it never goes there.
Right. And so for Meta Arkham Shadow will be a system seller. That's a horrible phrase here. Will be a system seller. After I already told him it won't be. They don't care about the game itself paying off. This game is supposed to sell MetaQuest 3 headsets and be an argument for choosing this platform. I literally said in the previous comment, this is not a system seller. And he's literally saying that they don't want it to make money. They just want to sell headsets. Why the fuck would they make it then if they don't want to make money off of it? What would be the point? To prove that MetaQuest can play a game? I mean, are you fucking stupid, dude? And he's like, Meta will not give away such exclusive because it won't bring them any benefits at all. Okay. This last paragraph, I'm baffled because he just basically just reiterated something that I told him it won't do. Batman Arkham Shadow is not a game to sell the system. Ever. It never will be. Batman's a great character, and I'm sure the game is fine, but given the pedigree of the developer. But it's not a game that people look at and go, I gotta have that. Let me go get a Quest 3. That will never fucking happen with this game. There has to be a game or an app that really revolutionizes what that headset is for. And Arkham Shadow is not it. But he seems to think that they're making a game just for the funsies and that their real goal is to sell headsets. And I'm like, it's not going to sell headsets.
No. You could tell this person is a fanboy from Meta because they're, to put this front and center that Meta is simply having Camouflage make this game to sell the Quest 3 is a cry for hope that it does do exactly what he's expecting it to do. Because let's be real, I don't think the Meta Quest 3, if I went back and I checked the charts, it's still selling pretty well, but it's not selling what Quest 2 sold. Like it won't. Like Quest 2, like you remember when Assassin's Creed 2 came out and how revolutionary that was in comparison to the first one? That's how the Quest 2 was compared to the Quest 1. All right. Now you got the Quest 3, which, like I said before, doesn't really bring much. And a lot of people don't like the controllers. They're not very ergonomic or familiar. I mean, they're small. So people with big hands, not very comfortable. I think this is a cry for hope by this person that Batman Arkham, the brand itself, Batman, the brand itself brings attention to the Quest 3 out of fear that the Quest 3 really needs more sales, and poor Meta, they're struggling because their metaverse thing completely collapsed and billion-dollar loss or multi-billion-dollar loss. And now the Quest 3 and the VR platform seems to be their saving grace. So, let's try to gaslight everybody into believing that this is going to sell. No, the only reason why Camouflage is making a Batman game is because of their history of making Iron Man and their fantastic success in making the best Iron Man VR experience that anyone has ever experienced. I mean, I have that, and Luke was playing it. Luke loved it. He felt like he was Iron Man. Like the way they actually designed it was incredible. And the story was very good too. I mean, you want to talk about good storytellers? They're good storytellers. The only reason they're making this Batman game is because they have familiarity with it. They're really good storytellers and they are sticking true to the universe, which is unlike some other developers out there who are not sticking to the, respective universes. So this was Meta did not have Camouflage do this to sell the Meta Quest 3. They are advertising this the same as they did with Ragnarok, the same they did with Asgard's Wrath, the way they have done with every other title that they have ever put into a commercial. It's no different. It's just Batman's a big name, and it's on the tip of people's tongues because of the terrible success, or I should say terrible failure, of Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I would argue, and I even said in this video, like, the game looks good. It looks like they know what they're doing with Batman. It looks like you're playing an Arkham game in VR, which is great because the Arkham trilogy is one of the greatest trilogies of all time. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. But I would argue that Asgard's Wrath 2 would have been a system seller and was a better candidate to sell systems than Batman Arkham Shadow because it was unique and it was exciting. It looked exciting. And I was like, that looks like a game I want to play. Oh, I can't. So now they just lost a sale because I have a VR headset that I like, but I can't get the game that I want. So none of this and anything this guy says is just completely coming out of his ass. He doesn't know a damn thing about PSVR 2 or VR in general, or how the gaming industry works, apparently, because he thinks that they have to rebuild the game from scratch to work on other headsets, which is just completely wrong. And so we're going through this and we're ripping into this guy's argument, if you want to call it that, quote unquote argument,
position, because free speech allows us to. And I've left up his comment because he's allowed to say that, even if he's wrong. Even if I made my opinion and I'm wrong, I'm allowed to say it. That doesn't mean you aren't allowed or aren't capable or shouldn't be capable or receptive to learning. And what we're doing is teaching this guy a few things that we might know. We're both in our 30s. We've lived a few years. And we've been a part of this industry for a very long time. And we're both very passionate about it. We read into things. We understand things. I worked in the industry for a short period of time. I got to talk to developers that I sat next to and watch them do their stuff. It is not as hard as, they have to rebuild the game for those headsets. No, they don't. It's a change in code. That's it. But this guy literally doesn't know what he's talking about. But I wanted out of the conversation, so my last comment to him was, well, you've clearly done your homework, and I will not try to argue the point any further. You have your points, I have mine, enjoy the game. And then he gave me a thumbs up because he thought he won. I just wanted to stop because I'm like, this is going nowhere. He's a brick wall. Now, there's a comment previous to that one that I put out. It was the troll guy who said, he basically said, well, it's pretty obvious that you're stupid and you have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, it's pretty obvious you have nothing to add to the conversation except pathetic insults. So, and his comments are gone. I don't know what happened. I don't know if his account got banned or something, or if he just deleted all of it because maybe he was drunk that day and he just went on a ramble and told me to stretch my butthole. That's literally all he ever focused on. So I'm like, maybe he went to stretch his own butthole. I don't know. But the bottom line is that we think this guy's wrong on so many levels, and that's our right because free speech allows us to think that way. And free speech allows him to say what he said. But I wanted to bring this up and actually put it in as part of this episode because I had another thing I needed to talk about, which does actually involve the suppression of my free speech. Some of you might agree with it. Some of you might not. I would posture that a lot of you would not agree with it just because given the circumstances of what I said, on whose platform I said it, it's well within the company's right to do what they did. I don't agree, but hear me out. So I was playing X-Defiant, which I actually recently deleted off my hard drive because I feel like
there are some major issues with the game. Balance notwithstanding, I think it's a fun game to play. There are some abilities that are maybe a little bit overpowered, but for the most part, everything feels pretty good. Except the fucking netcode. Every single time I think I should kill somebody, I don't. How can I possibly point blank shoot somebody with a shotgun and it only takes like half their health away?
Yeah.
Somehow the game, the network has not registered that the guy has moved from me on my screen. So the shot maybe only hit his arm or something like that. It literally could not be any worse than in X-Defiant. And it's a shame because I really, really enjoyed that game. And I just realized I probably have to re-download it and play it for the background video for this portion of the podcast. But
have fun with that, bro.
But at the time I was like, I mean, if I've got to record like, I don't know, an hour's worth of footage, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I really did enjoy it. It has,
and you were good at it.
I was decent. But its netcode issues really got to me, and I just couldn't effectively play the game. If I'm dying around corners, when I on my screen see that I have gone past the wall and I die, that's a problem. You can't have smooth gameplay like that. And I wasn't the only one. I was talking to people in the game, and they were like, "Yeah, something went wrong. It felt a lot better preseason. They're in season 1. It felt better in preseason than this. So something happened and they screwed up, and I just I don't have time for this. I'm not gonna keep playing this game when I'm just frustrated the whole time because I keep dying around corners and stuff, and I can't kill anybody with the weapons that they're using against me. I went up against a guy with the same weapon that I was using, and he killed me with the same weapon. And I'm like, well, how come he's killing me faster than I'm killing him? We have the same attachments. Makes no sense. But anyway, I digress. So I was playing X-Defiant, and as if you've grown up in the 2000s era of gaming, Call of Duty lobbies, Halo lobbies, Xbox Live in general, you know how brutal it can be. But we grew up with that. We got over it. It didn't bother any of us because we're not a bunch of pussies. So I made a mistake in the situation was I think it was half or a little bit more than half of the other team was sniping, which is frustrating because if you get a clear headshot, it's a one-shot kill. Fair enough. These people were not missing. And I couldn't call them out on cheating because I turned off crossplay. So it wasn't anybody on PC. It was purely PlayStation players. And so I was getting frustrated because they were just across the map. You couldn't get out of the spawn. And I was just really pissed. So I messaged one guy on their team through PlayStation, not in the game. I should have done it in the game. I messaged them through PlayStation's Messenger, and I didn't call him gay, but I said, wow, you guys are really gay. That's it. That's all I said. And then I come to find the next day I've been suspended for a week from PlayStation Online. Now, initially I wanted to blame the guy that I sent the message to because you can report people and whatever. But then I thought about it and I said, what if he didn't? What if, because of what I wrote, PlayStation had an automated system, some sort of algorithm maybe, that looks at things like the word gay or the N-word or whatever, anything that might deem to be harmful, and just auto suspended me based on the
streamer. As a streamer, you can do that. You can
So I'm wondering
cherry pick.
Right. So I'm wondering if Sony has that built into their system. Maybe the guy didn't respond to me. I don't know, or didn't report me. I don't know for sure. If he did, he's a fucking pussy. But if he didn't,
you can't do anything about it here, you motherfucker.
Yeah. But if he didn't, and Sony actually flagged me themselves, that's fucked up, because that is an infringement on my right to say what I said. Now, the thing is, the worst part of it is, it's not only the fact that they suspended me for saying the word gay, but they put it under the category of hate speech. And I'm like, excuse me? When it's a little bit more expanded. What's wrong with it? Hate speech or other hateful content, including racism, sexism, xenophobia, or hate directed at religious beliefs, cultural identity, gender identity, or sexual orientation. Okay. In what universe would it not be okay to call an actual gay person gay? What if he was gay? Would you still flag it as hate speech? I mean, this is wildly inappropriate on their part, in my opinion. Okay. I say one little thing. I use a word that actually is in the fucking dictionary, and they flag it as hate speech. And I'm like, hate speech? Do you even know the definition of hate speech? I know they said or other hateful content, including such and such, but the definition of hate speech is purely the act of trying to incite harm against another human being. I wasn't even coming close to doing that. And to call it hateful content is also a bit much. I was frustrated. I said, you guys are gay. Not he was gay. I said, you guys are gay. That used to be a basic bitch insult back in the 2000s. That would not even remotely flutter anybody's emotions. It wouldn't even register. You know, you tell somebody they're gay, they'd come back at you with something else. It was just the banter we had back then. But to put it in the category, the same category as hate speech, is downright ridiculous. And I know a lot of people are going to be, hey, it's their platform. They can do what they want with it. True, but that's still infringing on my right to say it. That's to suspend me. And not only that, but the possibility of having my account completely wiped off the face of the planet with all of my library. All the years I've put into the system. I have been on PlayStation Network since PS2. I have been on PlayStation Plus since day one. And you're going to tell me that because of something that I said might hurt somebody's feelings, you're going to wipe my account just like that because of something I uttered? That, to me, is insane. And that is an infringement on free speech, which is why free speech isn't free. Because, yeah, I get it. You have the freedom to say what you want, but you're not free from the consequences. That was inconsequential, if I'm using that word correctly. That does not denote suspending me. I don't feel like it should, because it's a simple insult to somebody, but a harmless one at that. If you are hurt by the fact that I called you gay, get some help, dude. Get some fucking help right now, because you need some growing up to do. Now, that might be ironic coming out of my mouth, given the fact that I was playing a video game while I said it, but I stand by what I'm saying. That's against my First Amendment right to free speech, for them to just suspend me. And I recognize their position to do with it what they want. It's their platform, and I should have known better. I should have used the in-game text chat instead of sent a message through their system. But I was unaware that they were just going to suspend me they couldn't just give me a warning. No, I was suspended immediately. So PlayStation, if it was you, y'all are a bunch of pussies, bro. And you can kiss my ass. If that guy reported me, he can also kiss my ass. That apparently I'll be stretching with my PSVR 2. It's yeah, when Arkham Shadow comes out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'll use my tears to lube. So the bottom line is, I don't agree with it. I was upset. Obviously, this was back in June, so I'm well outside of this whole thing. But I wanted to do this video or this episode based on this, and then that new interaction came up, and I wanted to bring that into this as well. But they both show the wildly different worlds that I come from and that a company like PlayStation comes from, where they will bow to the whims of the woke mob, and I am willing to let some idiot on the internet speak his mind and leave it up there for the world to see, so they can see how much of an ass he is, and we can all laugh at him because it's our goddamn given right to do so. And to be suspended and have the possibility of losing how many years? 20 years of an account existing because of some little bitch can't take the word gay being thrown at his face? Give me a break, man. Free speech exists for a reason. We have that right. And I exercise it every fucking day. And I'm not afraid to do so. And I've had it with everybody in the woke mind virus. You people need to get a grip on life, get a grip on reality, or just go away. Because those of us who live in reality don't want you here. You don't exist to us. And we could care less if you are here or not. But they're like, they gave me a whole list. I got the email right here. It says further offenses may result in temporary or permanent suspension of the whole PlayStation Network, not just social features. Well, I was suspended, so I literally couldn't use the whole network. So that line right there is a lie. I don't know why they would say that. I literally couldn't do anything online. Couldn't sign in, couldn't play games online. And that was like one of the best weeks I had in Pistol Whip. I actually got some really high scores and they weren't recorded. So that was cool. I thought at least leaderboards would work. So, word to the wise, to those of you out there, do not message through Microsoft's platform, PlayStation's platform, whatever. Don't message through their systems. And this whole situation just put me out of talking to people generally for pretty much good. Like, I don't talk to people anymore because of that. Every once in a while I'll turn on the mic, and I'm more amicable when I'm speaking to people directly because you get to find out who people really are, what people are really like. But I mean, for this to happen and to me just be okay with it is not going to happen. I'm not okay with this.
It's part of the agenda is to shut you up.
Yeah.
I wanted to stay quiet there so you could fully express your thoughts without any interjection.
Free open time now.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it sucks that you had to experience that. This is why when my friends ask me why I'm muted when I play with them, it's because of this reason, because I do express myself freely when I play, especially in a competitive game. I will very, very much call bullshit. And I've had a couple people tell me just to shut up. And so I just mute myself. And then I speak freely. Like, it's fine. You don't want to hear it? Cool. But, I also strongly encourage the use of the mute button because there are a lot of mute features in a lot of games. Like, a lot of games have this feature where you can either mute your mic or other people can mute you so they don't have to hear you. Those are tools that are put in place so that it's like being able to change the channel of a television show or movie that you just don't agree with, right? Oh, I don't like this, so I'm going to change the channel, right? We used to do that back in the day. We didn't like something, we didn't go out into public and, raise hell and complain about something and protest about a television show because it didn't align with our socio-political ideals. No, we just changed the channel and said, that was fucking stupid, and you move on. Nowadays, it feels like this freedom, this hypocritical freedom to express themselves the way they see fit, but then force others to remain silent because, well, they have, they're considered a minority based on how they view themselves. And, I have very strong feelings. Every single day, I am watching videos and listening to podcast excerpts regarding this socio-political inequality that is related to the DEI crap. And it's infested more than just the entertainment realm of living. It's infiltrated our political system, our entire national ideology. They are looking to crumble at least the United States. This very small group, 1-2%, I will give them up to 5%. I think that's very gracious. That's the number. That's the percentage of people in the United States with these false ideologies that try to gaslight and cancel you. They want to convince you that they identify as this or that, and that if you don't use specific pronouns, Concord, then you are discriminating or stereotyping them, and they are trying to convince our government to consider this hate speech. If you don't use my pronoun, it is hate speech. No, it's not. It's just that I don't fucking know you, and I don't care what your fucking pronoun is. Identify how you want, but don't force it down my throat. And this is something that is very difficult to speak to people about. There is truth, and then there is self-truth. Okay, self-truth is a subjective interpretation of your place in the world. Subjective in being the fact that it is only your interpretation. There is and then opposite of self-truth is actual truth. What is science? What is something that is irrefutable, that has been proven? Not, hold on one second. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. Those of you who you probably heard it in the background. His dog was going, one of his dogs or both of them were going apeshit. So it's probably what he's going to go fix.
Yeah. I'll be right back. Apparently something fell under the bed, and now I have to go get it because I'm the only one capable in this house of doing anything. I'll be right back.
Well, I'll keep them entertained. But yeah, and it's really just, it is sad that this country has fallen into a state of disarray under the guise of righteousness. There is nothing righteous about whatever this movement is or has become. There is nothing useful that they have to say. And I love how I'll wait till he gets back. But like throughout this email from PlayStation, they listed a link to the code of conduct twice, and under that, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with what I said? The second phrase or sentence that they actually put under that was, for more information, please visit PlayStation policy against hate speech on PlayStation Network. So they legitimately put it under the category of hate speech, which I beg to differ. Hate speech has a very specific definition of inciting harm against another individual. And that's nowhere near what I said. But that's how far we've gotten. That's how far we've fallen from the tree. And Chris, are you back?
I'm back.
Okay. There was one part at the end of the email that I think you would also find. I mean, I find it insulting, but at the very end, just before they're sincerely, it says, "We look forward to gaming with you after your account suspension expires."
Wow.
Yeah. What a dick thing to say. Fuck you.
That's like saying, "I'm going to give you a hand job with a glove filled with nails."
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, hey, hope you enjoy legitimate. This. So anyway.
Yeah, it's so we kind of get back onto the podium that I was on. This whole movement of a very small group of people who want to give themselves a sense of purpose, like anyone who claims or doesn't identify as some sort of binary gender, or they want to identify as something that is not theirs. They're doing this because they're trying to find a sense of fulfillment in life. And this is my honest to God belief, right? Not the ones who genuinely do it for themselves. They don't make political grandstanding or social grandstanding about the matter. They just are who they are. I know a lot of transgender people. In fact, I've told you about this one guy who was transgender from a female. I would never have fucking known. And then I saw a picture of when he was a girl. I was like, you were hot. And well, now you're a dude. Like, that's weird. But hey, you know what? But like, he wasn't going out of his way to make it known to the world. Like, he was celebrating the anniversary with a couple of close friends of his ability to transition. And I was like, hey man, that's cool. I mean, like, you do you, right?
But he made it when he was an adult, not when he was a child.
Made it when he was an adult, and simultaneously did not like force it down anyone's throat. Like, people who knew, people who didn't know didn't have to know. It wasn't like going out there, him saying, I am a transgender man and you need to respect me and you need to call me by this or that. No, he just lived his life. In fact, there's someone in my community who is transgender, my competitive community who is transgender, that no one brings it up because she doesn't bring it up because she's just a person. Now, I point this out not to be like, hey, look at me. I have friends who are transgender, so obviously I'm not, biased or discriminatory. No. My point of bringing it up is the simple fact that there are people out there who are just trying to live their lives and be who they are. And that has not affected, they don't go out of their way to use it as a weapon to affect the rest of society. They do it because they're trying to find themselves. And as long as they are good people and they are genuine people who are kind to others and follow the rules of our society that our government has structured, that our founding fathers have structured, they are following the rules, just living their life. They're good people. I don't care what you believe. I don't care how you feel about yourself. As long as you're happy with yourself and as long as you're good to other people, you could dress yourself up. Like, have you ever seen these extreme body morphers? These people who go out of their way and they change themselves to look like animals.
So strange.
It's so strange, but I've listened to interviews of these people and they're just kind people. They're just cool, like personality-wise, they're really cool people, a little bizarre, and they view themselves very differently, but that doesn't make them bad people.
No, not necessarily, no.
And they're not saying you have to accept me, otherwise it's hate speech. They're like, I know I probably look strange to some people, but I feel myself.
Right. Well, and
that's genuine.
Yeah. And that's like it's the same thing as looking at some dude who's just a shit-faced drunk all the time. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. He's just making a bad decision. But not every alcoholic is out there to beat you.
No. And I bring that up because the connotation of using phrases like gay or fag or the N-word or bastard or bitch or like any word that could be used to direct some sort of, I don't know, targeted statement towards someone. Like, there are a lot of words that people, you still use the word retarded, which is not used at like pretty much anywhere nowadays, not even in the clinical sense.
I'm bringing it back though.
Bringing retarded back.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back.
The reality is, like, people used that term for the purpose of identifying a typically developing person and equating them to an intellectually disabled person, right? The reason why it was clinically no longer used was because to retard something would mean to prevent progression or prevent advancement, right? The reason why it was removed in a clinical sense was because, well, people still have the capacity to learn regardless of their intellectual disability, which has been shown true time and time again. So you might still hear the word fire retardant, right? It's still used in certain contexts, but it garnered such a negative connotation that you had to be politically correct. You couldn't use that word outside a clinical sense. Otherwise, it's discriminatory and it's insulting. Now, to be fair, I used to use it a lot myself. I don't use it anymore. But one word that I've started to use a lot is cunt, which apparently is also, it is a fun word. I used to hate it. Like, I used to hate the sound of it, but now it's invigorating.
Well,
I've also found that in Australia and also in parts of the UK, it's actually used as
a term of endearment.
A term, thank you. A term of endearment.
I know. I was going to say the same thing. The Brits say it all the time. The Aussies say it all the time. The Irish, I think, say it a lot.
It's interesting because it's culturally based, right? So let's bring this back full circle here. The fact that you experienced what you experienced really does suck. But you have such a small percentage of people who are trying to force their socio-political ideals onto everybody else, gaslighting everybody else, using Twitter. The reason why people got so upset about Elon Musk taking Twitter back is because now people can speak freely. All the people, it's no longer an echo chamber for these far left liberal fucks who think that they are opening up the world to the freedom and opportunity for everybody. No, you're making it free and opportunistic for people like you who you think are somehow being shoved down the social pipeline of injustice. It's like you are not you are not being mistreated. You're not being given opportunities. In fact, there are so many people who are given opportunities that other people like white people, no longer have opportunities in because we don't fit the quota for diversity.
But Chris,
we are now white people are now becoming more of a minority, especially white males.
But Chris, what about all this white privilege that I have in my pocket? Whatever shall I do with that? Because apparently I have it.
I don't even know what white privilege is.
It's nothing.
I mean, you and I grew up in a low middle class household. So like we were right above the top echelon of lower class. Okay. We were raised by two parents who have stayed together and are still together. We were composed of four brothers. We all didn't give a shit about school. We were outside most of the time. We had very similar social groups. You and I in particular were much closer in that regard. And we loved video games, and we did a whole lot of stuff without social media. So we were like the last group to grow up without the internet and social media, yet still experience the transition into what we have today. Not once did I ever feel like I was privileged in any sense. Everything that I have, which I am very happy I have fought for. I've worked very hard for. In fact, I have sacrificed a lot to have what I have. And I don't even know what social class I would fall under right now, but it certainly isn't privileged.
It's kind of hard to tell actually these days.
Yeah. I mean, it's more dichotomous now. You have the upper class and lower class, the middle class
kind of that's right. Exist. Yeah, the middle class basically just disappeared.
It was taxed into a damnation.
Yeah.
But this whole sense of white privilege, and people say, well, you're treated differently by the cops. Really? I'm not treated any different. I literally walked home from Burger King when my first job, for those who don't know. I walked home with my best friend Ryan, and one of my favorite belts broke. I was so mad, I whipped a small tree. You remember where the old Price Chopper was, which is now there's a Pioneer Bank out in the front? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So back when that was still Price Chopper, I think it was still Price Chopper.
It was.
There were a line of trees there. And my belt broke, and I took it and I whipped it against the tree. And Ryan and I just kept walking. 5 seconds later, cop lights turn on, pull over, officer gets out, hand on the taser, says, drop the belt.
Whoa. Excuse me? I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, I dropped the belt. Both Ryan and I put our hands up and said, what the fuck did we do?
Yeah.
We're literally walking down the road. He is, with his hand on his taser, he's asking us questions. And he's calling in for backup or whatever.
Wow.
Another officer comes by. The original officer who stopped us while walks away to, I don't know, do police reporting, whatever. And the new officer comes up and he's like, so what did he stop you for? And I said, I have no clue. He didn't tell us why we stopped, sir. He simply came out, hand on the taser, said, drop the belt. I put down the belt and our hands have been up since. And he's like, well, what were you doing beforehand? I was like, I don't know. Like, we were walking home from work. We literally just got off shift. He's like, well, why is your belt off? I said, well, it broke on the way home, and I don't know. I got pissed and I whipped the tree with it. And he goes, oh, this again. Wait, again? You mean this guy has done this before? Apparently, this guy, this police officer, this Gildan police officer, has stopped people for hitting nature. I guess that's the best way I could put it, because he legitimately said, what did that tree ever do to you? I'm like,
oh my God.
Oh dear Lord. So why do I bring up the story? White officer. I'm a white male. I got stopped and almost tased for hitting a tree. Where's my privilege?
Right. I mean, that is one dude who's just really exercising his power way too much.
It's this whole sense of white privilege is silly.
Was bored.
And you can be racist to white people.
Oh, don't get me started.
This whole concept of people saying, no, you can't be racist to white people. And then they go back to the whole slavery thing. Did you know that some of the first slaves in America were Irish? Irish people were slaves in New York. Well, New England, I should say. No, maybe not specifically New York. You had Irish slaves. You had Italian slaves. You had black slaves.
And then thousands of years
slaves.
Before that, it was the Jews. And most of them are white.
Slavery is not a title that is for black people alone. This whole notion, I keep using the word gaslighting, but I mean, that's what's been happening in our country. A bunch of people trying to gaslight. Our school system has even ignored these facts. I never learned this in history.
Oh, yeah.
It was always the slave trade with black people. No, there were a lot of people who were slaves of different nationalities. It just was true, but we weren't taught this.
I will tell you one thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, so to say that you can't be racist against white people because white people are the reason for slavery, that just proves you're stupid. And you sound stupid when you say it. You just have no clue and you don't do your research and you're just looking for a reason to be an upset little puppy that gets pet and coddled to.
Yeah. And that was something that I found out myself, was that I actually didn't know that the Africans who were taken from Africa were sold by other Africans because it was too dangerous for white people to go in because of all the diseases that they might catch and bring malaria with them. Yeah. So to keep themselves safe because of all their white privilege, they made deals with other tribes in Africa to sell them black people. And it's just like, wow.
And why did the black people sell each other? Because it was profitable.
And I mean, Hitler killed mostly white people. Let's not forget that Hitler killed primarily a lot of white people, because a lot of Jews were white and there was a lot of Germans, not a lot of black people in Germany at the time. So I mean, we can talk about this kind of bullshit all day, but the bottom line is there is no such thing as white privilege. There's never been anything like white privilege ever. And, I hate bringing this up all the time. I hate talking about myself, but it's the one point that I can make whenever somebody brings up this argument, because my own damn best friend and his brother seem to think at the height of whatever this bullshit was, that white privilege was a thing. And Lord knows if they still do. I don't know. But Jeremy and his brother seem to think it's a thing. And I don't know if Jeremy's come down off of it since he's not with the whole woke mob thing. But I don't know about his brother, but we were playing GTA Online one night, and I avoided the argument, but because I was like, I'm not getting into this, but I brought up the subject of white privilege, and they were both like, well, his brother was like, oh, Adam, yeah, it's a real thing. And I'm like, he was basically like in a condescending tone. And I'm like, no, but I'm not going to have this argument with you. And then I said to Jeremy, I'm like, I mean, is he serious? And Jeremy was like, well, it is kind of a thing. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. You're my best friend of like almost 20 years. You're going to sit here and tell me you believe this shit? And so I was like not having it. But
no, I just want to point out that there's a lot of discussion around this because of the state of our country and where it's at. And people are going to have feelings on one side of the fence or the other.
But I will say this: where was my white privilege when I got unemployed 3 times? Where was my white privilege when they stole $120,000 from me at ITT Tech? Where was my white privilege when it took me almost a decade to find a job? Anybody who would take me. Where was it then? Tell me. Where's the white privilege for the vet that I pass by every time I go down the street from work to go to Market 32 to get my food? He's standing out there looking for scraps. He's white. Where's his privilege?
Yeah, it doesn't exist. And
you people need to think before you speak.
And if you look at the statistics, now I'm a statistics person, but I haven't looked this up. I have seen it in videos, recent videos, by the way, and they credit their sources. So if they're showing it on screen and they have it in their I'm blanking on the YouTube stuff, in the subject line below or whatever,
in
their description below, they have their cited sources. If you look at the population of, we'll just stick with black people here since that seems to be the hot topic in our country. If you look at the statistics of black people to the percentage of any other type of race, it was somewhere around like 8 to 10% of all Americans are black. Okay, so something around there. And that like 80 to 90% of crime that is committed is by black people.
I've heard of this statistic, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So I might be a little off, give or take a few percentages here. And you know what? If I'm wrong, that's okay. Be sure to correct me and provide the source link in the chat below. But my point is, and the point that I've been hearing over and over and over again by multiple sources, is the fact that cultures, people of specific ethnicities or identities, whatever it is, you are responsible for your own conduct and the representation of whomever you're trying to represent. It is not a byproduct of a broken system. It is a byproduct of how you carry yourself. One of the underlying foundational teachings of our parents was, I don't care what you do inside this house. It is how you represent the family outside this house that I care about. Our parents instilled this in us. This is why people talk to us and listen to us and consider us good people, because how we conduct ourselves in a public setting. What we do in our own house behind our own closed doors is no one's business but our own. Not saying I'm going around beating people or hurting anyone, but I am a little bit more aggressive in my tone. I am a little bit more direct in my tone when I am speaking freely in my own home, like I am right now. But when I'm out in public, I'm considerate of people, regardless of how they feel or how they treat others. You want to be an asshole to me? Fine, be an asshole. You mean nothing to me. I'm going to walk by. I'm going to continue with my day. It doesn't bother me. I let that shit roll off my back. So to complain that there is like some sense of white privilege or that some certain specific group is being marginalized against, I think it's nonsense, because it's about how you conduct yourself. If you want to be, there are even black people now speaking out against this, saying like, you are a disgrace to the black culture. Because if you look at the stats, it is based on the conduct of the people. The reason why the percentages of those who are committing crimes are black people is because of their own personal conduct. They're doing it to themselves. If you are law-abiding, being law-abiding, by the way, is not a white thing. That's an American thing. If you're law-abiding, you'll be in less trouble. The fact of the matter is, and there's actually more arrests and police shootings against white people than there are black people. The only reason why this, to a lot of people, this is a farce or an inaccurate statement is because the media only shows the interracial interactions.
The media.
Between white police officers and black victims. Right. That's it.
Right.
Even the George Floyd thing was completely misrepresented by the media. He actually had prior convictions. He was already a criminal in most cases. And the day that he died, reportedly by police officers, who, by the way, were a little excessive. I will admit to that. They were, not a little bit. They were pretty excessive. To have your knee on the back of someone's neck, I don't care what they're doing at that time. Like, you don't do that.
No.
Like, you just simply don't do that. But this guy had medical issues. He had cardiovascular issues, which means his heart was in a compromised state. He was on drugs at the time. I don't know if it was alcohol or if he had done some other drug. I don't remember exactly what it was. But he was not of sound mind at the time. So he had cardiovascular issues and he was intoxicated of some sort. And he had prior convictions. You have these three things, and the police officers were afraid of how large I don't want to say that they were afraid, but if you look at the size of him.
He was huge, yeah.
He was a big dude. You're going to need a lot of hands on that guy to keep him down in case he decides to blow up.
Yeah. Well, and you know, again, this is not us excusing the actions of the officer who killed him, but in with a different man of different health condition, possibly a better one, who wasn't under the influence, he wouldn't have died so easily. I think that being on the neck was a little bit too much. Maybe on the upper back would have been better.
Between the shoulder blades.
Between the shoulder blades, sure. Fine. That's put your knee there. Don't put it on his neck.
But the whole point of bringing it up was the misrepresentation of the media.
No, right.
And how inaccurate of a portrayal they give. They don't provide you full context because they're pushing a story. They're pushing an agenda. Yeah. They didn't tell George Floyd's side of the story because it wouldn't have sold.
Right, exactly.
It wouldn't have pushed the agenda of hate crimes of police officers, which was really big at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yep. It was ludicrous. And this guy, they said he was a father, he was a husband, he was a working man, and he was just walking along the sidewalk.
No, he wasn't. He was driving.
It's like you're completely misrepresenting the entirety of the story. Yep. He wasn't a great guy. In fact, he wasn't, in most cases, a nice guy. At the time, was he necessarily doing anything? I can't tell you. I wasn't there, and the video only shows so much, and the rest of it's just hearsay, whatever the officer said, whatever onlookers said, and you're going to get different stories. But the truth is, the officers were overly aggressive, yes. But if you understood why they felt they needed to be as aggressive, then perhaps people would have looked at the story a different way. And what happened shortly after that? We had a couple more reportings of white on black deaths, and then we had Black Lives Matter happen.
Which was a joke in itself. So,
well, the initial push for Black Lives Matter was more just an awareness. This is like a Martin Luther King kind of thing, right? Like, hey, let's remember, like, we fought for civil liberties, and it seems as though we're going backwards. Let's remember what we decided as a country to do moving forward in terms of civil liberties. It wasn't even the people who initiated Black Lives Matter that was an issue. It was all the pretenders who wanted an excuse to become anarchists.
Well, that's it. That and the fact that some people got greedy, and well, then it became more about money rather than, actually pushing some sort of message, a good message. But I think the overall message is all lives matter, and we shouldn't treat anyone else's life better than another's. And everybody's life matters.
And this whole freedom of speech thing is the reason why all this is brought up is because it's integral in this whole freedom of speech topic.
Yep.
People are pushing an agenda in this country to force control over the language you use, and that is not okay. They are even looking to change how the Constitution is written, saying that is outdated. I'm sorry, but this is not the Bible. This is not storytelling. These are agreements that were made by our founding fathers who believed in an ideal of how a country should be run. And it never once, it essentially says, be true to your fellow man. All people are equal under our flag. Not verbatim. That's not what it says, but that's the implication, right? That is what the Constitution was trying to get across. All people are equal under the United States. They are to be treated as humans.
That was a pretty good paraphrase. That was good,
right?
So yeah, when you brought up the media, I immediately just started thinking of the most recent thing, the Joe Rogan thing. I don't know if you heard about that.
Oh my God.
MSNBC misrepresenting what he said. And it's like, that's exactly why you guys are a joke and why nobody takes traditional media seriously anymore. People are more willing to go to YouTube to listen to an individual rather than go to some CNN, MSNBC, Fox, or NPR station, because you people can't be trusted. You cannot be trusted anymore with actual news. And that's why game journalists are no longer actual journalists. They're just agenda pushers. They're just trying to get a rise out of, anyone they can actually, manipulate. Like with the whole Black Myth Wukong situation. Dude, Kotaku, PC Gamer, IGN especially, y'all are fags, dude. I'm telling you right now. I use that word a lot now, and I don't know why. I really probably should stop. But in this case, you guys suck. You guys are assholes, and you can suck my dick because you are not game journalists. You give people like me a bad name because I actually did some damn good journalism, if I do say so myself, when I had my website up. I thought my articles were actually pretty well written. You take a look at some of these fucking articles, they're like a single paragraph and there's 5 different typos. Like, who's proofreading these things and saying, yeah, that looks good to me? Like, give me a fucking break. You people are getting paid to be fucking mouthpieces for this joke of a fucking movement.
So on those 2 points, I say 2 points. There are 2 points in my head based on, around this subject matter. Game journalism, the political sphere, the news media, everything's a joke. Everything is opinionated. There is no actual objective writing anymore. There's none whatsoever. And in the game journalism circle, there are 2 cases. One you brought up was Wukong. The other one is Star Wars Outlaws. We'll talk about the Wukong one since that is very easily proven wrong. The game journalists are saying that the developers have put out on a public forum, patriarchal sentences, misogynistic statements. They wrote them in Chinese, and there was a mistranslation of what was actually said. Now, you have to remember that despite China being in existence for centuries, one of the longest standing cultures in the world, they have a certain number of characters that they can write to actually write their language. And sometimes they use words, the same word, but it is received differently based on the context in which it's used. In fact, even if you look at the Japanese language, from what I remember learning when I was a little bit younger, the inflection of a word could mean that the word is actually meaning something different, depending on how you say it, not what you say, but how you say it. So the mistranslation of the Chinese statement was an error of Google, but game journalists ran with it to fit their perspective and their biases, even when you had people who were literal translators saying, no, that was a mistranslation. This is what was said, and this was the context behind it. And the game journalists are like, no, this is what he actually said. They are just doing it to do it because they want to. These are people who are like, this is cultural appropriation. This is cultural appropriation. Well, what the fuck do you think you're doing now?
Yeah.
That's cultural appropriation.
Yeah. And I also studied a little bit of Chinese and Japanese at the same time. Don't do that. All right. Don't ever do that. Don't try to learn 2 different languages of similar origins at the same time. It's not going to work out. But what I did pick up was that, one, Japanese is quite a bit easier in terms of, you can pretty much just speak in a straight line and most people will get the point of what you're saying. In Chinese, however, they have 5 different accents that they put in their words, and one letter with each accent can mean 5 different things. Yeah. And that's why it's so difficult to learn, because of that reason. And they have, and depending on the accent, can change the inflection, and that changes the meaning of the word. Whereas in Japanese, I don't know if they have too many accents to put over their letters. I haven't seen, but it's more straightforward. You can talk in a normal monotone essentially and still get your point across. Basically, as if we were speaking English. But Chinese, very sing-songy language, in I think it was Cantonese not Cantonese. Mandarin is very sing-songy. Cantonese is very more direct, but it's still very different from Mandarin, which are both extremely different from traditional Japanese. And so, it's really it just these. I love how game journalist is now just a negative thing. It's got a really negative connotation to it. I am almost embarrassed to even call myself a journalist, from when I was writing articles and associating with these people. They have all lost their fucking minds. And this one bitch, Alyssa Mercanti, I call her Mercanti because she's a cunt. That bitch needs to be put down. She's legitimately she's legitimately insane, and for her to even be able to speak on or utter a word or even be in existence in the gaming industry is just a slight on all of us.
Well, that's just the thing. She needs to be absolved of responsibility around journalism or public speaking. I get what you mean by put down. In other words, like, she needs to be canceled.
Silence. Yeah.
She needs to no longer have a platform. She needs to be devoid of any opportunity to provide any kind of objective stance on reviews or anything like that, because she's not objective. That's the annoying point. I 100% agree with you that game journalism. You remember when we used to go down to it was the Westmere store, and we would go to get I think it was Game Informer magazines. It'd be like demo DVDs and stuff in there. We used to go to the store, actually pick up magazines, and that's where we would get our information. Game journalism used to be a label of prominence, a label of respect. Yeah. And no longer is it today, because everybody is so concerned about political correctness and being afraid to offend anyone. I mean, if anything were to prove this more, it's Concord, which was an absolute failure. No one fucking cares about it, but they're trying to be so politically correct that it absolutely blew up in their face.
Thank God.
It is absurd that game journalism has gotten to where it's at. And if you look at IGN, like you brought them
Pathetic,
up.
Yeah.
I used to like IGN, but ever since 2015, maybe give or take a few years, it doesn't hit the same anymore. And here's a prime example. Star Wars Outlaws came out again by Ubisoft. Well, good, go figure. They're in the news again. They decided to make the first, quote unquote, AAA Star Wars open world adventure.
But Chris, what happened to the quadruple A they spoke about? Where's the other A? What happened? They chop it off?
Oh God!
Not enough in the budget.
No, you know what it was. They had too many mechanics in this game for it to be considered quadruple A. Now you have to have restricted mechanics in a game for it to be quadruple A. But what happened with Star Wars Outlaw was that a few things. First of all, I want to point to the voice actress of the main character. Very good looking, very attractive lady. And they decided not to use her as the character model and decided to make a very strong square-jawed creature that they claim to be a woman, but no one can really tell because of how unanimated her face actually is in the game.
Thank you for calling her a creature, because to me, in a lot of shots, she looks like a fucking alien. It's weird, dude.
It's awful. The only thing that looks feminine about that entire thing is the body, and even that, it's hard to tell behind all the clothing. But regardless, I don't want to specifically talk about that. I want to talk about IGN's review. I don't know if you watched their video on it on YouTube.
I don't give them credence.
Okay, well, I know you would hate to give them the view, but I encourage people to go and take a listen to it, because it's a load of hypocrisy. If you listen to the entirety of the review, you would be thinking to yourself, wow, they really did not like this game. They have a lot of negatives to say about it. They have a few positives. So it sounds like it's like, wow, this is very objective, like review. And they don't seem to like it nearly as much as they were hoping. They said that there were some things that were, left them wanting more, that were not fully complete, like features that were not fully complete. Some things were a bit flat. And then you get to the end when they reveal the score. And what score do you think they gave it?
I'm going to guess probably 8 out of 10.
Close, a 7 out of 10. But I can almost guarantee you that they had double, if not more, negatives to say about it than they had positives. It was disturbingly confusing.
Yep. And I actually watched, I haven't watched this guy before, but Mr. Matty Plays, quite a popular YouTuber actually, watched his little review on it. And he's talking like this game is maybe 20 hours long. And some of you fucking idiots out there paid $130 to play it early, only to find out that you had to restart your game because they didn't put out the day one patch yet. So that's why you don't pre-order your fucking games. You don't pay for early access. That's why they call it early access, because you're getting it before they actually fucking finished it. You're an idiot and you deserve to lose your money. It's bad enough it's $70. You're paying $130, you fucking morons. On a game that wasn't worth anybody's time, to be fair. You've obviously got the pre-rendered cutscenes, which do look good. The character model on K still looks horrifying, but in-game, and Mr. Matty Plays actually showed this. I've not seen these in-game cutscenes. Oh my God. There's no animation. There's nothing. It's before it was patched Mass Effect Andromeda animations. Just dead eye stare, and Kay looks even more like an alien, and it's creepy. And I'm just like, I'm looking at this, and I'm like, this was massive entertainment. The guys behind The Division, one of the most successful IPs Ubisoft has, and there weren't animations like that in the game, except in game. When you're passing by a bunch of fucking civilians, they really don't animate those guys because you're not really going to stand there and look at them. But their cutscenes were in-game cutscenes, and they were well animated and well fleshed out. This is a joke. This is a fucking joke, and I knew it was going to be, and so did most of the world. But they are taking you guys for a ride. $70 my ass.
It's a waste. It really sucks because, like you said, Ubisoft they created games like The Division and The Division 2. They created games like
Far Cry,
Watch Dogs,
Far
Cry. They created Avatar. That game is gorgeous.
Did really well.
It's a very beautiful game, and in fact, it actually runs really well. It's a fun game. It's hard to navigate because you're in this massive jungle with no actual pathways. You have to physically traverse there, but it's a beautiful looking game, and the animations aren't that bad either. They're actually pretty good. The facial animation, Assassin's Creed has never really had great facial animations, but if you look at the older titles from AC2, I think up to I'll even say Syndicate, they actually had pretty good facial animations even for in-game cutscenes. So like they did good at one point. I don't know what they've done, but everybody's cardboard nowadays, or they're making very weird, jerky movements. But yeah, Star Wars Outlaws, I think, is a game that no one really asked for. They're trying to make a canon, a game that's canon within the story. It's between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and they use this as an excuse to create a female Han Solo. And I say they use this as an excuse, it's because Han Solo, based on where they planted this timeline, it was when Han Solo was in carbonate. Right, he was frozen in carbon.
Yes, it's between 5 and 6. Yeah,
and so he's not available. So okay, he's not available. So let's make an empowered female to again push this woke agenda, but let's not make her traditionally cute. Let's make her a little bit more masculine. This woman boss figure. that can do the same thing as Han Solo, but then for some reason only bitch slaps people to get an assassination.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too that he pointed out is that the large majority of the game, again, 15 to 20 hours, is stealth, and she only has one blaster, and the weapons you can pick up are limited in ammo, and anytime that you interact with anything, you drop that weapon with said limited ammo. So then you can no longer pick it up. And it's just like, and the animations take too long to take somebody down. So you think you got an advantage where you take one guy down after another guy has passed by him. Before you know it, the other guy's turned around by the time you're done doing the animation. And so you're caught anyway. And apparently a large majority of the missions, you cannot get caught. Otherwise the mission's a fail. And it sends you back to the last checkpoint, which could be 20 minutes ago. I mean, it's a joke. And I even tweeted this out. I tweeted the video out and I said, this is why I chose to stop buying Ubisoft games. And hopefully, thanks to videos like this, you will too. Demand better from your devs, especially for $70. Hashtag stop supporting mediocrity. Because what are we doing? Why are you people buying this garbage? I'm done buying Ubisoft games. Guess what? In a couple years, it'll be free on PlayStation Plus, and I'll play it then. Because maybe by then they'll have fixed a few things. Hopefully they'll have fixed her face too. But no,
that's not happening.
That's not happening because God forbid. But the bottom line is that there's a lot of wrong going on in the industry, and Ubisoft is at the forefront of it. Pre-orders for Assassin's Creed Shadows is down, and it's like, well, no shit, because it looks like an ass game. They could try their best to sell that, and it'll probably sell. It'll probably sell to a lot of people, not to me. I'm not buying Ubisoft games anymore, and I'm standing by that. Yes, I played X Defiant, but that was a free game. So
you didn't have to pay for it.
I didn't have to pay for shit. But you know what? It was also developed by a small group within that studio who were passionate about their project, and they made a damn good project. X Defiant is a phenomenal shooter. They just need to iron out the netcode, man. That's the hardest part. The network needs to be solid for a shooter like that, as fast paced as it is. Otherwise, you're going to lose people like they lost me. But I did actually get their preseason battle pass, because the battle pass is the cheapest route to 100 different cosmetic items without breaking the bank. But overall, I'm willing to pay for that because it's a free game. I didn't pay $70 for X Defiant, and I still had a fantastic time. But slop like Outlaws, pass. Plus, Star Wars is gay, so
Yeah, it's gotten really gay. In fact, I mean, it's gotten so bad that the Acolyte was canceled.
I love that.
So I also want to just bring up Concord and kind of loop this in and tie it back to the freedom of speech bit, because I know we've kind of deviated from the freedom of speach thing.
But that's all
right.
There's
a reason why. But there's a reason this all loops back around. Okay, it's all about exposing the narrative of this woke perspective. So I bring up Concord because Sony was looking to have their own Overwatch type game. First of all, 8 years in the making, the game is providing nothing new to the genre.
Sad.
It just really is not.
They're 8 years too late.
They also decided to make it a game that was catering towards this woke perspective. So now they have pronouns in there, and they have character designs that are just absolutely egregious. They're horrible to look at. Do you know that one character that's morbidly obese and has black hair and goggles? I thought that was a woman. Apparently, that's a guy.
No, that's a dude. Yeah, I thought it was a woman too.
So is the game trying to tell me, no, this was a woman who identifies as a man because of the pronouns? Like, I don't fucking understand. But realistically, I don't really care. It's like when Overwatch decided to give or say that Soldier 76 was gay, and so was
Tracer.
Tracer.
Yeah.
And it's like, no one asked for that. No one freaking cares. Like,
but even then, Tracer, even at the beginning, Tracer, there was more around her story than Soldier 76. One day, I just opened up Twitter and bam, Soldier 76 is gay. And I'm like, since fucking when?
Yeah.
That's the most masculine gay guy I've ever seen. Like, are you kidding me? They're just making it up now. And let's not split hairs here. Overwatch 2 is a joke as well. But it at least started with Overwatch 1. It has the mechanics. It has some staying power, but they are also a joke now. So, needless to say, Concord is a joke, but so is Overwatch.
And so you also tie in the show Acolyte, Star Wars Acolyte. This was actually designed to be in the narrative director, by the way. I forget her name, but because I'm terrible with names.
She was the secretary to Harvey Weinstein, so she knows a few things.
And she was also a co-writer in the show or movie Heathers, something like that, which apparently had a phenomenal story, but a lot of it was cut out because people were too afraid it was too.
I love how Rotten Tomatoes gave Acolyte a 78%.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it was canceled after the first season, but she stated that this was going to, in her words, this is going to be the gayest Star Wars ever.
Well, it was postured by arguably one of the gayest sounding men, but yes, Leslie Headland is her name.
That's it, Leslie Headland.
Yeah.
So why is all this relevant? Well, because for all this speaking that they're doing about pushing their agenda and being like, okay, we deserve our rights, we deserve our time in the spotlight, we're going to push this agenda and we're going to create media for you to consume that caters towards our philosophies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Okay, that sounds all well and good in terms of freedom of speech. Sure, you have the right to do that. But why has it become a problem? It's because now if you say, well, it sucks, like what they said about the Acolyte, what they say about The View is a feminist cult, by the way. Oh,
God, yeah.
You have games like Concord, right? You have all these games that are pushing these new woke agendas and they fail. They come right out and blame you.
Mm-hmm.
They blame you for its failure because you're bigoted. These all these hot or heated words. I don't know what people call it nowadays. These trigger words. They use all these trigger words like you're a bigot, you're misogynistic, and you're phobic. It's like, no, it's a shit game, bro. Like, people still play Overwatch 2 even if they don't agree with the lore behind Tracer and Soldier 76 because the game can be fun.
Or even their newest character who's very flamboyant looking, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it that little astronaut girl?
I think so. I'll have to look it up. Keep talking.
So, like, and it's not a matter of them being able to speak freely and do what they want. In fact, a lot of people are like, go ahead and make games for people like you. Like, go ahead, do it. Have fun with it. Just don't expect there to be a lot of sales because that's not what players want. There's another game. I'm blanking on it right now. I'm gonna have to look it up here. But it was designed as a woke game. I keep wanting to say like Sunburst or Outburn or something like that. Let's see, woke game. Dustborn.
Yeah.
So Dustborn was literally designed to meet the woke agenda. I'm not kidding. These are not my words. This is how the developers have described it. And it was received so badly that the protagonist, one of their abilities was called bully. In other words, they were going out of their way to be aggressive with their characters and turn their characters into these bully-like people that essentially represents what the woke culture is. They're bullies. They're trying to make you believe the term gaslighting. They're trying to make you believe their bullshit so that you align with their ideals. Don't do it because it makes no sense. It just makes no sense. The only games that have ever had any kind of success with including politics or real life, civil liberty issues, one game that immediately comes to mind is Metal Gear Solid. They were able to push some sort of political messaging without being so direct about it, and were incredibly successful with it. But when you're as direct as you are with a game like Concord or Dustborn, or if you're as direct with your changes of cultural media like Little Mermaid and Cinderella, and this whole new Snow White remake and how that's essentially, well, I don't know if it's been canceled, but it's being so poorly received that Zegler, the main actress, all of her contracts have been canceled for any future Disney installments.
Well, she's a shit actress too.
She's a shit person.
Yeah,
she's a shit person. But this is what's happening. And Microsoft is so taken aback by the response to this woke agenda that they have actually parted ways with DEI companies. They have parted ways. And look at what happened when the developers of Wukong turned down the offer by Sweet Baby Inc. What did Sweet Baby Inc. do? What they should have done is be like, okay, we respect your position. Best of luck with your game, and then move on, right?
No, they'll double down on that shit.
Instead, they found out or tried to find a way to make the developers look sexist and non-inclusive. This is a story of Wukong, a fucking drunk monkey god that beat up demons to protect the world.
And it's a myth, by the way, people.
A story that has been told for centuries, since the 1500s, I think,
Odyssey
if
to
not
the
earlier
West.
than that. It's not your place to decide what goes into a game that represents that mythological lore of the Chinese culture. You're trying to push your agenda onto someone else. Shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Look at what Ubisoft did with Assassin's Creed Shadows. They made adjustments that are completely I'll tell you right now. I've been paying. Obviously, I've been paying a lot of attention to Assassin's Creed stuff. Obviously, I don't know if you'd be surprised or not, but the truth is, the Japanese people didn't care that Yasuke was going to be a main protagonist. They didn't care. They're like, yeah, probably a bad choice. You probably should have picked an actual Japanese person. That would have been better. But they could have seen past it and be like, yeah, he was a historical figure in our country, not really super relevant, not much known. Understand the decision why you might want to, expand on that and kind of make your own character from it. What they really didn't like was the misrepresentation of their culture abroad in the game, from when trees are blooming, of what time of the year, to when people are actually harvesting things, to how the markets were set up, to how they interacted with Yasuke, people bowing to Yasuke all the time, using certain imagery that was they weren't actually allowed to use and never got permission to use. It's like, this is what they were pissed about, and this is why it went up to the Japanese Diet to review and analyze to determine whether or not this game should be allowed. And it's like, we understand that this is a fictitious representation of that time period. We know that. They've done that with every Assassin's Creed title. But they have done such harm in the representation to the Japanese culture that it caused such an uproar that it went to their political government to now investigate.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, that's literally all it is the fact that they tried so hard to push their. We talked about it. They said they wanted it to be their samurai. It's like, well, it's not. It's not your choice or not your place to make this actual historical figure your own. That's just not how it works. And talk about cultural appropriation. Look, that's it. That's the exact definition in form right there. You just took a historical figure from another culture and made it your own. That's a cultural appropriation right there. And it's like, maybe you should have left him as a historical figure and not a playable character. Period. You should have just left it like that because it would have been more well received. By the way, I must have been thinking of some other character. It wasn't the new chick in Overwatch, but one of the guys, Lifeweaver, yeah, he's definitely got to be gay with the way that he presents himself for sure. Anyway, that was long ago. Overall, Ubisoft, there's one thing I wanted to say earlier, going back to the Star Wars. Star Wars went so gay. I went back to Star Trek. Like Star Trek, I loved it before. Now I fucking adore it. And granted, they've had a couple of missteps, not as many as Star Wars, that's to say the least. But like Star Trek Discovery was not well received at all. And I didn't know why until I watched the synopsis of it. And I'm like, okay, they really tried to push the female power. Like, oh, she just shows up and shit starts working again, apparently. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to watch that. But Star Trek has had a lot fewer missteps than Star Wars. And dude, I love Star Trek. It's been awesome to get back to that, even to the original series, which I thought would be too campy for me. But damn, is it so good? William Shatner fucking bringing the fucking powerhouse fist, dude. He's just like he's laying down the law on that show. I fucking love it.
And what's so wrong with that? What is so wrong with masculine character? What is so wrong with male empowerment? Like when these people are saying that there was no representation of females in Star Wars, and like they wanted to make Acolyte that they wanted to make it the diverse Star Wars. I'm sorry, Lando Calrissian, was he not black?
Yeah.
Also, you had Princess Leia, right, who is an extremely popular, not just because she was hot, but because she was a catalyst for a lot of the interactions between Han and Luke and everybody else. She was a political representative. She had such high standing power, whereas Luke, he was an orphan, and Han was a smuggler. So you had the male characters being the lowest class, and you had the female character along with another commander who was I don't remember her name because she wasn't memorable to me, but she was a commander in the Starfleet. So on the rebel side, so you had the two female characters in high class positions.
Are you talking about the one with the purple hair?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
That was a fuck. What a bitch.
She was, but hey, yeah, she was a commander. Right. So you had the two prominent female characters in these massive high class positions, and then you had the two prominent male characters in the lowest, scummiest positions. You just did, and then you're like, well, we're gonna make one and then you had Lando Calrissian, who was incredibly wealthy and lived in Sky City, like he was a political figure himself. Well,
it was Cloud City. Cloud City?
Did I say Cloud City?
Yeah,
I said Sky City. Cloud City. So if you're looking for representation, it already existed. It just didn't exist the way you wanted it to. You wanted someone else to be the lead, the hero, or whatever it is. It's like they were heroes in their own right. They complemented each other. Leia complemented Han. Leia complemented Luke. And then everybody complimented each other because it felt real. What they were trying to push with Acolyte was stupid.
Well,
what they were trying to push with other things is stupid.
Even George Lucas in an interview said, look, Leia was the leader of the rebellion. Like, you want a strong female lead, there she is right there. She orchestrated the whole fucking thing. She was a princess. She already had status, and she decided to use it to try and better the situation of the downtrodden. Like, how could you possibly write and unlike the purple-haired bitch, that was much better written. Like, Leia wasn't stuck up. She wasn't, trying to prove that she's the boss bitch. No, she already was. So she decided to use her position of power for the betterment of her fellow man.
I also learned that the writers of the Acolyte were asked what was their experience and knowledge of Star Wars. And at least one of them said, I don't know, there is a guy named Han who walked around with a big dog or something.
Oh my, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. It's that ludicrous, man. The message that I'm trying to convey, which if you can't read between the lines, which I know some people can't, so I'm going to be very direct and clear.
Yeah, just spell it out.
I am all for diversity, but I am not for people pushing agendas to force a change of opinion on the sole basis that they don't agree with you. I am okay with people being inclusive. I am okay with introducing fully fledged out characters in whatever medium of entertainment you want to consume. But you need to do so with respect to every other character, every other culture, every other faith. You cannot discriminate against one and claim that you're not being racist or discriminatory against them because you think that you are underrepresented. Represent your group with honor, respect, and dignity. Don't do what you're doing and try to push agendas down other people's throats because you feel like you need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
and
disgusting.
It pushed everybody away from the franchise, and there are people leaving Star Wars in droves, and the only people that are left are the ones that pushed us away. And it should have never, George, buddy, love you. You should have never sold, man. Never. It would be in such better hands if you were still in charge. I get that you're getting on in years, but man, tough it out, bro. Stan Lee did it until he died. All right. The guy was fucking in his movies until the day he died because he loved it so much. And he might not have been in charge, but he made damn sure that it lived up to his vision. So, you should have never sold out. Star Wars would still be prominent to this day, and they wouldn't be overdoing the TV shows and, just making it an absolute disaster. And the reason I brought up Star Trek is they've got a bunch of shows, but you don't hear about as many because there aren't as many, because they know that you keep doing something like that, the thing's going to get tired. And we're all tired. We're tired of Marvel. We're tired of Star Wars. Disney milked the cow dry, and they're starting to see the horrible negative effects of it. And can we stop with the bullshit fucking live action movies of Disney classics, please? Can we stop? I understand that some of them did well. I guess Aladdin, Lion King, some of those did well. I don't fucking want them. I don't want them, and I can't possibly be the only one who doesn't want them. You're ruining everything, Disney. Come up with something new, or just stop making movies altogether. Your park does well enough, I suppose.
Nope, not anymore.
Not anymore after you killed that poor lady. But, hey, that's one minor issue, right? That you can't pay out like $50,000 to maybe cover for the cost or something,
All because you signed a Disney Plus contract.
Yeah. Well, sorry, guy, you lost your wife, but that's you signed the terms of agreement, and we kind of own your soul now. But you wanted that 7-day free trial. It's kind of your fault. Your wife is dead because of you.
I want Disney Plus so much, babe. Can you go jump off a cliff?
Yeah,
please.
Yeah. It's so dumb. Anyway, this diverted into a whole other thing. But, again, this episode is about freedom of speech because we're going to exercise our right to do so. And I don't give a shit if we offend you. You have every right to be offended for whatever reason you want to be offended for it. That doesn't mean I have to apologize to you. You get no apology from me for words. Words can hurt. Give me a break.
Just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean they hate you.
No,
just keep that in mind.
Just think about the context of the words. If it's like, hey, I beat up a kid for making fun of our dog. Remember Steve?
Yeah. I beat him up too. I also beat up Brian.
Brian. Well, yeah, Brian. Yeah, but he respected us after that. So did Steve. But Steve,
after they realized they could get their shit kicked in.
Yeah. Steve just kept running his mouth about. I think it was Boover at the time. I don't know what it was, but it was more annoying than really anything that pissed me off. But he just wouldn't shut up, so I shut him up.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I didn't hit him in the face, everybody. I hit him in the right spot where it wouldn't show.
See, I didn't hit Brian in the face. I just hit his face into the concrete.
Yeah, so the concrete hit his face.
Yeah, it wasn't me. Blame the concrete, not the person. I just wanted to.
By the way, we were kids when all this happened, so you can't actually prosecute us.
Yeah, I wanted to empathize with you a little bit. You experienced this silencing by Sony, and I've been on the fringe of a similar experience, but with members in my community. Well, I say my community; it's a shared community. But I've been with we're helping the company at Outside Entertainment work on Alvo for a long time, since 2019. So it's 5 years. I'm one of the original investors in it. I'm an alpha test player, one of the original two. So I have a lot of investment into this. Not only have I helped with the development, but I have also created and I run the league, which is on its third season starting soon, which is what I've been busy with. But I'm vastly involved with it. In fact, I wrote a lot of things that they have used on their platforms. They actually advertise some of my stuff in the game as well. So I use that as a frame of reference that I am invested in, that I'm a long-term investor in the game. There are a couple people in the community who have come in after the fact and are now assisting with beta testing. And when it comes to meeting players' needs, there's usually some sort of discussion around what needs to be done to make the game more retentive. One of the statements was, well, you guys need to control camping in your game, players that camp. Everybody's complaining about it, so you need to put in a system to make it easier to identify campers and blah, blah, blah. My counter argument was you cannot restrict or somehow infringe upon the choice of a player and how they play their game. Doing that would actually do more harm than good. I hate camping too, but you know what? I'm a better shot, so I find those motherfuckers and I put them to sleep for real. Okay? That's what someone in the game actually does to campers. They don't go to the forums and complain, hey, developers, you need to do something to make this easier for me to kill those campers. I said the real point of retention for any kind of game is content. You want something for people to work towards. You want something people to feel good about earning or about getting. You want them to show it off in a multiplayer experience. Content. That's where you need to focus your efforts. He told me I had no idea what I was talking about, that I don't have a pulse on the community, that I don't really know how marketing actually works. I actually pointed out multiple frames of reference of how to provide context as to why I am actually knowledgeable of this, why I am a good source of reference when it comes to player retention. And then I even put out a poll on my group's Facebook channel, item listing a whole bunch of these things, including this guy's point. And he was incredibly, I hate using this term, but he was incredibly ratioed. He and maybe one other person agreed to his point, and that took up about 1% of all votes. Everything else was all content related. Everybody wanted various forms of content, and it was diversified. So there was one point of issue. Another incident with this guy recently occurred, and there were some targeted. Now they were discreetly targeted towards me and towards my league, and it was very, very frustrating. And I had to, once again, of course, step in and say something because of freedom of speech. And ultimately, he was trying to silence me by saying the things that he had said. And I was the bigger person. I had said, you know what? It doesn't matter what you say. He had mentioned, like, you can block me and blah, blah, blah. I said, you're not worth my time or energy to block. I don't really care what you have to say. But I'm going to make this final point. I made a final point, and it turned into this whole thing. But as another attempt for a person who is very liberal in thinking to try to silence someone who is more inclined to focus on what is best for the game as opposed to what is best for smaller groups of the community. And it was very, very frustrating to the point where I had to go talk to a couple of my friends, kind of vent this out in private to kind of get past it and recognize that I am still valuable in the community. And that this one person's voice is so unpopular that it doesn't deserve the amount of energy that I'm giving it independently. So I wanted to sympathize and empathize with you that I too am experiencing it. And I am literally just trying to be as objective as possible in my perspectives and my stance. And regardless of how objective I'm being, not if I wanted to be subjective and opinionated, I could certainly share that. And sometimes I do share that. You mentioned netcode being an issue, in XDefiant. Well, I get that in Alvo all the time. And I am vocal about it. I say, you guys need to have better servers. Like, it just has to happen. this is what's going to kill the player base. People are going to get shot and die around a corner. They're going to get shot and never hear a gun go off and wonder, like, why am I even playing this fucking game when I have no chance to fight back? It makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't make it fun. You want the experience to be clean, you want it to be fair, and you want it to be balanced. And when you lose that, you lose your players. So yes, I am going to be vocal about that until it is changed. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop being objective. I'm still going to tell them what needs to happen if they're going to retain the player base in a different fashion, which means you need to push out content and you need to, and in this case, you need a rank mode for this particular game. Those are two things that need to happen. Guess what they're doing? They're pushing out content.
Yep.
Whole bunch more content because they're not stupid.
Well,
so it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks, but we're all experiencing it in various forms, in various capacities, and it just sucks, man.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is that I'm sure Alvo isn't, I don't know if it's considered a live service, but, multiplayer games in general, not just live service, but multiplayer these days thrive on content. That's all that's the only way that they stay relevant is content. Look at Fortnite. Live service or not, if that game was just a multiplayer game, they would still need to update it with new content. Because I mean, how did we keep going in Call of Duty back in the day? There were tons of prestige levels. There were tons of camos to unlock, and some of them quite difficult. I mean, it's just like that's just the way it used to be. We didn't call it live service because they already had everything in the game. Mm-hmm. Now they've just decided to take stuff out of the game to put back in later. But, multiplayer or live service, content. That's just the way it's going to be. That's the way it always has been, at least for the last decade or more.
Don't try to control player choice.
Yeah, that too.
You got to give players the opportunity to play a game how they see fit. Have you been watching? I don't want to go too much onto the subject, but have you been watching any Deadlock?
I literally watched Shroud for 5 seconds. I was like, nah.
Okay, so if you're into MOBAs was a MOBA or a multiplayer online battle arena. That's what MOBA stands for. It's kind of like a dying genre, right? You had Smite, you have League of Legends. I say dying as in there's been no new type of game. Well, here's a new MOBA game by Valve. And when we were talking about before adding something new to the genre that Concord couldn't do for the hero shooter thing, Valve is doing something different with this title. And it is blowing up. If you're not a fan of MOBAs, definitely not going to be up your alley, but it's very similar to it's like a blend between a hero shooter and a MOBA, and people are digging it. Even people who weren't into MOBAs before are now getting into this. This is what game innovation is like. There's no focus on pronouns. There's no focus on DEI. It's all focus on gameplay and fun. People are like, well, this looks like PS2, PS3 graphics. It's like, yeah, but the gameplay is fun.
Yeah, but so does Minecraft.
Yeah, well, Minecraft is its own unique thing.
That's what I'm saying, though. You can take that argument and shove it back in their face. It's like, well, then what about Minecraft?
What about Roblox?
What about Roblox? Do you like any of those games? Because if you do, that's like PS1 level graphics, man. I don't know about that. That doesn't seem very fun.
No, man. No. You're giving it too much credit. It's more like N64.
Oh, yeah. But no, it's yeah. I mean, Huffman actually,
it's all about gameplay.
Huffman actually said he had an extra code, and I just wasn't interested. I'm already focused too much on other live service games. I'm just like, I don't know if I can do another one,
And here's the thing, Deadlock is going to go through a lot of balancing changes.
Oh, yeah.
There's no point in getting in on it now.
But then you've also got Marvel Rivals too, and everybody's loving that. So it's like, yeah, that's too much. It's too much at once. I've already got Battlefield. I'm back into Destiny 2 because I bought the new expansion. It was great. I tried to play, continue on with X Defiant, and I would have if the netcode wasn't so bad. But then I thought about it. I'm like, this is yet another live service game that I would have to dive myself into, which I can't help myself. I like progressing. I like doing stuff like that, but it's too much. And I'm sure Deadlock is fine. Obviously, you can't get in right now. It's a beta that you can get invited to, but invites are dried up apparently. Marvel Rivals, that people are screaming from the rooftops, is amazing. It's a great like third-person Overwatch alternative. But it sounds like it's good. MOBA Overwatch type thing. I mean, it was that to me is just Smite. Smite did the same thing. But probably a little, maybe a little less focus on the team battles. Maybe Deadlock has kind of melded Overwatch and MOBA in that sense, where the team battles are still the core focus, but you have the MOBA elements in there. But yeah, I mean, this episode's getting quite long anyway, but we told you guys we could just ramble. But I think we've pretty much covered just about everything, because we are getting off topic for the most part, but full circle, freedom of speech should be cherished and held on to as long as possible, because one day our Chinese overlords are coming and we're not gonna have it anymore. But anyway, so I think that's pretty much going to bring this episode to a close. I don't really have too much more to say on the situation. It does suck that I had to go through that, but hey, you live and you learn, right? And I learned I can't talk to people online anymore, so I don't really. But it's a mistake I will not soon be making anytime in the future or ever again. But I will not stop speaking my mind when I feel as though it's necessary, especially to that idiot in the comments section. He has the right to say what he said. His comments are there till the video, gets taken down, or till YouTube gets taken down, for the world to see how fucking stupid he is. But these guys can come into our communities and tell us we don't know what we're talking about. I'm here to tell you we have 30 years of experience in this industry, with it and in it. And I think you guys need to recognize. But that's going to do it for this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. It was a long one, but, they can be. And please join us again in the next one. I remember saying what I wanted to talk about in the next one, or the next two, this being one, and then the next one after that, but I can't remember now, where we'll talk about either more gaming, or maybe something else will happen in one of our lives and we'll just talk about it. But who knows, maybe by the time the next episode comes out, the election would have happened. My guy dropped out, which I'm really upset about. I was actually going to vote for the first time in my life, and then he's just not in it. Yeah, so whenever that's going to happen, join us then. But until then, for Chris, I'm Adam Wolf, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.